The Grand Hall of the Galactic Senate on Proxima Centauri 4 buzzed with the murmurs of 1,000 representatives from across the stars. Ambassador John Miller of Earth stood alone at the central podium, his weathered face betraying no emotion as the votes were tallied on the massive holographic display above. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, thinly veiled hostility, emanating from the draconian delegation seated in their privileged position near the Senate President. Earth had joined the Interstellar Alliance just 15 years ago, a relative newcomer to the cosmic community that had existed for centuries. Humanity had been welcomed with cautious optimism, their technological level deemed acceptable, if somewhat primitive, by the Senate's assessment teams. What the Senate didn't know, what Miller and the Terran Defense Committee had carefully concealed, was just how advanced Earth's technology truly was. The final vote stands at 712 in favor, 211 against, with 96 abstentions, announced Senate President Grax, his four arms moving in the ceremonial pattern of judgment. The Galactic Senate hereby finds Earth in violation of Directive 47B, the illegal development of restricted gravitational manipulation technology. The evidence provided by the Honorable Draconian Empire is deemed conclusive. Miller's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. The evidence was fabricated, a masterful deception created by Archduke Vex of the Draconian Empire. For 100 years, Earth had watched the stars, intercepted communications, and prepared. They knew the politics of the galaxy well before making first contact, understood the power dynamics and the dangers. They had learned caution from observation. As punishment for this transgression, Grax continued, his voice echoing through the cavernous chamber, Earth is hereby sentenced to 50 standard years of isolation. All trade agreements are suspended. All interstellar travel to and from the Sol system is prohibited. Any vessel attempting to break this quarantine will be subject to immediate destruction. A ripple of satisfaction passed through the Draconian delegation. Miller caught the eye of Archduke Vex, whose scaled lips curled into what passed for a smile in his species. The trap had been sprung perfectly. Earth isolated, vulnerable, ripe for unofficial resource acquisition missions that would strip the planet while the Senate looked the other way. Earth requests the right of appeal, Miller stated, his voice calm despite the sentence just pronounced. Denied, Grax responded without hesitation. The evidence is irrefutable. The ruling is final. You will be escorted to your diplomatic quarters where you will remain until transportation to Earth can be arranged. You have 1 standard hour to communicate with your government. As the session adjourned, Miller walked with dignified composure back to his chambers in the diplomatic tower. Once alone, he moved quickly to his secure terminal and activated the quantum entanglement communicator hidden within. Technology the Senate believed was decades beyond Earth's capabilities. Lazarus Protocol initiated, he said clearly into the device. Authentication, Miller, John. Authorization, Prometheus ascending. Thousands of light-years away, in a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. Defense Minister Lisa Howard received the message. Her face remained impassive as she turned to the assembled Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's happened, she said simply. They've made their move. General Steve Cooper, commander of Earth's armed forces, nodded grimly. Time to show them what we've been hiding. The room erupted into controlled activity as the Lazarus Protocol was formally activated. Orders went out to hidden facilities across the solar system, the lunar fleet awakening from its slumber beneath the Mare Tranquillitatis. The Jupiter station emerging from its hiding place within the gas giant's perpetual storms, and the deep-sea bases on Earth itself powering up weapon systems that had remained dormant for decades. 50 Helios-class stealth battleships, vessels that combined technology, reverse-engineered from 7 different alien civilizations with uniquely human innovations, prepared for departure. The ship's captains had trained for this scenario their entire careers, knowing this day might come but hoping it never would. In orbit around Neptune, The EDS Defiance, commanded by Captain Olivia Bennett, received its priority orders. As the flagship of Earth's hidden fleet, the Defiance would lead the response. Bennett gathered her senior officers in the ship's strategic command center. "Ladies and gentlemen," she addressed them, her voice steady and determined. "For 100 years, we've watched and waited. We've built our strength while presenting an image of technological inferiority. Today, the Senate has shown its true colors, and Earth will respond. Our mission is clear: extract Ambassador Miller and demonstrate our capabilities. We are not seeking war, but we will not accept tyranny." Commander Paul Carter, her executive officer, studied the tactical display. The enforcement fleet has already been dispatched from Proxima Centauri, 8 capital ships, likely expecting no resistance. "They'll find otherwise," Bennett replied. "Navigator, plot a Helios jump to these coordinates. Weapons Officer Wright, prepare the gravitic lance for non-lethal deployment. We want to disable, not destroy." As Earth's hidden fleets mobilized, Miller sat in his quarters in the diplomatic tower, monitored by Senate security forces, who believed him isolated and helpless. Through his implant, he received real-time updates on the rescue operation underway. The Terran Special Forces team had already infiltrated the lower levels of the tower, moving with stealth technology that rendered them virtually invisible to standard security systems. Lieutenant Ben White led the extraction team, his 6 operators moving like ghosts through the building's maintenance tunnels. "Target is on the 73rd floor," he informed his team. "Security presence is heavy, but nothing we haven't trained for. Remember, clean extraction. No casualties unless absolutely necessary." As they approached Miller's location, a patrol of Silurian guards rounded the corner. White and his team froze, their adaptive camouflage bending light around them. The guards passed within inches, oblivious to the humans in their midst. "Tower security is about to get a systems failure," whispered Sergeant Diane Russell, the team's tech specialist, as she deployed a localized EMP device disguised as standard maintenance equipment. And now. The lights flickered and died, emergency systems activating with reduced functionality. In the confusion, the team reached Miller's door, bypassed the lock, and secured the ambassador. "Right on schedule," Miller commented with a slight smile as White handed him a stealth suit. "Let's not keep the fleet waiting." As they made their way to the extraction point on the tower's roof, alarm sirens began to wail. "They've discovered you're missing," White informed him. "Time to accelerate our departure." A stealth dropship decloaked just long enough for them to board before vanishing again from sensors. As they pulled away from the diplomatic tower, Miller watched the Galactic Senate complex recede in the distance. "How soon until the demonstration?" he asked. "Captain Bennett will be in position when the enforcement fleet arrives at the system edge," White replied. "About 6 hours from now. We'll rendezvous with the Defiance before then." In the void between stars, Commander Ze of the Draconian Imperial Guard stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Claw, leading the Senate enforcement fleet toward the Sol system. Z was a decorated veteran who had personally overseen the subjugation of a dozen worlds. This mission was beneath him, a simple blockade of a primitive planet. But Archduke Vex had insisted he take command personally. "Status report," Z demanded, his tail lashing impatiently against the deck. "All systems nominal, Commander." His first officer responded. "We will reach the Sol system's edge in 4 hours. No signs of any spacecraft leaving the system." "They have no ships capable of interstellar travel," Z dismissed. "The humans will submit. They have no choice." What Z didn't know, what the entire Galactic Senate remained ignorant of, was that Earth had developed the revolutionary Helios drive decades ago. Unlike conventional FTL technology that required massive energy expenditure and left detectable signatures, The Helios drive created temporary quantum tunnels that allowed ships to traverse vast distances instantaneously, leaving no trace of their passage. Captain Bennett stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the tactical display as the enforcement fleet approached. Status of Ambassador Miller's extraction: complete, Captain, reported her communications officer. The ambassador is aboard the Valiant and will rendezvous with us in 30 minutes. Bennett nodded. Excellent. Deploy our observer drones and prepare the fleet for Phase 2. I want real-time data on every ship in that enforcement fleet. Microscopic reconnaissance drones, another technology Earth had kept hidden, swarmed silently toward the approaching Senate vessels, attaching themselves to hulls and beginning to transmit detailed information about ship systems, weapons capabilities, and crew complement. Captain, her tactical officer called out. We're receiving the data now. The enforcement fleet consists of 3 Draconian heavy cruisers, including the flagship, 2 Silurian destroyers, and 3 Proximan light cruisers. Weapon systems are powered down. They're not expecting any resistance. Their mistake, Bennett replied. Prepare the fleet for a jump on my mark. 10 ships only, the Defiance, plus 9 from Battle Group Alpha. The rest remain in reserve. Miller arrived on the bridge just as final preparations were being made. Captain Bennett, he greeted her. It's good to see Earth's finest in action. Ambassador, she nodded. Are you ready to make history? I've been ready for 15 years, he replied. Though I had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Bennett turned to her crew. All hands, battle stations. Initiate Helios jump in 3, 2, 1. Execute. In the emptiness of space, at the edge of the Sol system, Commander Ze was reviewing the blockade protocols when his sensor officer suddenly shouted in alarm. Commander, multiple spatial anomalies directly behind our formation. Before Z could respond, 10 Earth vessels materialized from seemingly nowhere, positioned perfectly to cut off any retreat. The ships were unlike anything in the Senate's records of Earth technology. Sleek, predatory vessels with hull configurations that suggested advanced shielding and weapon systems. Impossible, Ze hissed. Scan those vessels. Where do they come from? Unknown, Commander, the sensor officer replied, his scales pale with shock. There was no warp signature, no fold space distortion. They simply appeared. On the bridge of the Defiance, Bennett opened a communication channel to the enforcement fleet. Attention Senate Enforcement Fleet. This is Captain Olivia Bennett of the Earth Defense Ship Defiance. You have entered Earth sovereign space under false pretenses. The charges against Earth are fabricated, and we reject the Senate's ruling. You will power down your weapons and propulsion systems immediately. Z's face appeared on the view screen, mandibles clicking in agitation. This is Commander Ze of the Draconian Imperial Guard. Your primitive planet has been found guilty by the Galactic Senate. Stand down immediately or face destruction. Bennett smiled thinly. I don't think you understand the situation, Commander. Allow me to clarify. She nodded to her weapons officer. Target the propulsion systems of the nearest Silurian destroyer. Minimal power. Demonstration only. The Defiance's gravitic lance, a weapon that manipulated the fabric of space-time itself, fired a precision burst at the Silurian vessel. The energy beam was barely visible, a slight distortion in the vacuum between ships. When it struck, the results were immediate and devastating. The Silurian ship's engines shut down completely. Its artificial gravity failed, and it began to drift helplessly. What have you done? Z demanded, genuine fear creeping into his voice for the first time. A localized gravitic distortion, Bennett explained calmly. Completely reversible, but quite effective. Your ships are now surrounded, outgunned, and as you can see, vulnerable to technologies you didn't believe we possessed. I'll repeat my request. Power down your weapons and propulsion systems. Z's response was predictable. All ships, open fire! Destroy the Earth vessels! The enforcement fleet's weapons powered up, but the Earth ships were already moving. their maneuverability far exceeding anything the Senate forces had anticipated. The Defiance executed a perfect tactical jump, disappearing and reappearing directly above Z's flagship. "Fire at will," Bennett ordered. "Disable all hostile vessels." The battle that followed was shockingly brief. The gravitic lances of the Earth fleet systematically targeted and disabled the enforcement vessel's key systems without causing catastrophic damage or loss of life. Within 20 minutes, all 7 Senate ships drifted powerless in space, their crews stunned by the swift and decisive defeat. Bennett hailed Z's vessel again. "Commander, your fleet is disabled. We could have destroyed you, but that is not our way. Ambassador Miller will now address you." Miller stepped forward, his diplomatic demeanor firmly in place. "Commander Z, I want you to deliver a message to the Senate. Earth rejects the unjust ruling against us and the attempted isolation of our world. For 100 years, we have observed the galaxy, learned its politics, and prepared for this day. We hoped for peaceful cooperation, but we have always been ready to defend ourselves." Z's mandibles clicked in fury. "You've committed an act of war against the Senate. The combined fleets of 1,000 worlds will reduce your planet to ash." Miller shook his head. "I don't think so, Commander. While we've been having this conversation, Earth forces have seized control of 5 strategic hyperspace nodes connecting the major sectors of Senate space. We control the flow of information and transportation now. The Senate cannot coordinate the response you threaten." On screens throughout the galaxy, communication channels suddenly carried Miller's face and voice, broadcasting to every world in Senate space through a network of quantum communication relays Earth had secretly established years ago. "People of the galaxy," Miller addressed them. "For too long, the Galactic Senate has been manipulated by the Draconian Empire and its allies, using fabricated evidence to eliminate competition and exploit resources from worlds deemed primitive. Today, Earth has demonstrated that appearances can be deceiving. We are not the technological inferiors you believed us to be." The broadcast showed images of the disabled enforcement fleet, followed by footage of Earth ships controlling the hyperspace nodes. "We do not seek conflict," Miller continued. "We desire peaceful cooperation based on mutual respect and honest exchange. To facilitate this, we have transmitted evidence of draconian manipulation of Senate proceedings to every world in the Alliance. The evidence package included years of intercepted communications between Archduke Vex and corrupt Senate officials, detailing bribes, threats, and fabricated evidence used to manipulate votes and policies." The reaction across the galaxy was immediate and explosive. Protests erupted on dozens of worlds. Senate representatives were recalled for consultation, and the Draconian delegation found themselves suddenly isolated. On Earth, Defense Minister Howard directed the next phase of the operation. Secure the hyperspace nodes with minimal force. Open diplomatic channels with the neutral worlds and those most oppressed by Senate policies. Make it clear, we seek reform, not conquest. Over the following weeks, a remarkable transformation swept through galactic politics. With transportation and communication networks under Earth's control but operated with scrupulous fairness, many worlds began to see humans not as aggressors, but as potential liberators from draconian influence. Miller, now operating from the Defiance, engaged in non-stop diplomacy. Earth proposes a new alliance. He told representatives from 30 key worlds, gathered virtually. A galactic federation of free worlds, where each member has equal voice, where evidence is verified independently before action is taken, and where technological development is encouraged rather than suppressed. The response was cautiously positive, especially from worlds that had suffered under draconian influence. As support for the initiative grew, the old Senate structure began to crumble. Archduke Vex made a desperate attempt to rally military support, but found his allies abandoning him as the extent of his manipulation became known. 3 months after the confrontation, at the edge of the Sol system, representatives from 170 worlds gathered on neutral territory, a space station orbiting the uninhabited world of Tau Ceti A. There, they signed the Charter of the Galactic Federation, establishing a new interstellar alliance based on principles of equality, transparency, and mutual defense. Miller, standing beside Captain Bennett as they watched the signing ceremony, allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. 100 years of patience and preparation, he remarked quietly. Worth every moment. Bennett nodded. But this is just the beginning. The Andromedans are still coming. Miller's expression grew serious. Yes. The threat the Draconians tried to hide from everyone while they consolidated power. But now, united, we actually have a chance against them. How long do we have? Bennett asked. According to our long-range observatories, 15 years, perhaps 20. Time enough to prepare, if we work together. As they spoke, Earth's advanced sensors monitored the approaching extragalactic threat, a massive fleet from Andromeda, fleeing some unknown catastrophe in their home galaxy, seeking new worlds to colonize by force if necessary. It was this looming invasion that Earth's leaders had detected decades ago, that the Draconians had known about but concealed, planning to use the crisis to seize complete control when it came. Humanity has always been at its best when facing existential challenges, Miller said. And now we have allies who will stand with us. For the first time in galactic history, there's genuine unity of purpose. Bennett looked at the gathering of diverse species on the view screen, former enemies now cautiously collaborating. I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime. Nor I, Miller agreed. But we've only won the first battle. The war for survival is just beginning. In the newly established Federation Command Center on Tau Ceti E, representatives from dozens of species pored over Earth's data on the Andromedan approach. The technology and strategic thinking humans brought to the Alliance proved invaluable, complementing the diverse capabilities of other worlds. General Cooper, now serving as Earth's military liaison to the Federation, addressed the assembled command staff. The Andromedan fleet consists of approximately 5,000 vessels of varying configurations. Their technology appears to be roughly comparable to our own, but their numbers are substantial. They will reach the outer boundaries of Federation space in 15 years, 7 months. A Silurian admiral, one of the first to defect from the Senate forces, studied the projections. With combined resources and unified command, we can match their numbers. The question is strategy. Agreed. Cooper nodded. And this is where Earth's experience might prove useful. Throughout our history, we've found that superior numbers don't guarantee victory. Position, technology, and most importantly, unpredictability, can overcome numerical disadvantages. The strategic discussions continued day and night as the nascent Federation prepared for humanity's greatest challenge. Earth opened its hidden research facilities, sharing technologies that had been developed in secret for decades. Other worlds contributed their own unique innovations, creating a technological renaissance that accelerated development across all member worlds. Captain Bennett and the Defiance were assigned to lead the first long-range reconnaissance mission to gather more detailed information about the Andromedan fleet. As they prepared to depart, she received a message from Miller. "Olivia," he said, using her first name now that they had become friends through their shared trials. "This mission is perhaps the most crucial we've undertaken. What you discover will shape our entire defensive strategy." "We won't let you down, John," she replied. "The Defiance was built for this kind of work." As the Defiance and its escort ships prepared for the Helios jump that would take them halfway to Andromeda, Bennett addressed her crew. "What we do here will echo through history. Earth stood alone once. Thanks to your courage, we now stand with allies against a threat to all life in our galaxy. Remember why we fight, not just for Earth, but for all worlds that seek to live in freedom." The ships vanished in a flash of quantum energy, beginning the next chapter in humanity's journey among the stars. On Earth, in the rebuilt headquarters of the Terran Defense Committee, Lisa Howard looked out at the night sky, seeing not just stars, but the homes of allies and the approaching shadow of a threat that would test them all. 100 years we watched and prepared, she murmured to herself. Now we lead. The Senate had ruled against Earth, believing humanity weak and isolated. Their vote had indeed been their last mistake, not because it had triggered destruction, but because it had unwittingly created the unity that might save the galaxy itself. The Federation born from that error now stood as the last, best hope against the coming storm. As dawn broke over Earth's major cities, citizens looked up to see new constellations in the sky, orbital defense platforms built with alien alliances, symbols of both protection and partnership. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as defenders, prepared by a century of patience for the role history had thrust upon them. The journey that began with a single vote in a corrupt Senate was leading to the greatest challenge humankind had ever faced. But they would not face it alone. Earth's ships now patrolled alongside vessels from 100 worlds, their combined strengths creating a defensive network unprecedented in galactic history. In the observation dome of the Defiance, as her ship hurtled through the void between galaxies, Captain Bennett watched the stars streak by and allowed herself a moment of reflection. They thought they were sentencing us to isolation, she said to the empty room. Instead, they forced us to reveal our true strength. Sometimes the greatest power lies in patience. The Defiance continued its journey, carrying the hopes of a unified galaxy toward the approaching storm, ready to face whatever challenges awaited in the vast darkness between the stars. Commander Z had never experienced such humiliation. After being retrieved from his disabled flagship, he had been summoned to the private chambers of Archduke Vex, deep within the Draconian palace on their homeworld, Draco's Prime. The once powerful Archduke was now a shadow of his former self. His scales dulled with stress, his posture diminished. "You failed," Vex hissed without preamble. "One primitive world, and you failed to subdue it." Z fought to control his anger. "The humans deceived us all, Your Eminence. Their technology far exceeds anything in our intelligence reports. They had been watching us for a century, preparing." "Excuses!" Vex slammed his clawed fist against the ornate table. "While you were failing, the humans exposed our operations throughout Senate space. Our allies have abandoned us. Our influence is shattered. Perhaps if you had shared information about the Andromedan threat," Z suggested carefully, "we could have united the Senate legitimately, instead of through manipulation." Vex's eyes narrowed dangerously. "The Andromedans were our opportunity, not our enemy. When they arrived, the Senate would have turned to us for protection, giving us absolute authority. Now, thanks to the humans, that opportunity is lost." "What would you have me do, Your Eminence?" Vex moved to a secure terminal and activated a star map. "The humans control the major hyperspace nodes, but there are minor routes they don't yet know about. Gather what loyal forces remain and regroup at these coordinates. We cannot defeat this new Federation directly, but perhaps we can negotiate with the Andromedans when they arrive." Z stiffened in shock. "Negotiate with invaders? They need new worlds. We need to regain power. An arrangement could be mutually beneficial." Vex's mandibles clicked in what passed for a draconian smile. "The humans believe they've won the game. Z, they don't realize we're simply moving to the next round." As draconian forces quietly gathered in the shadows, the Federation expanded its influence. Earth's open sharing of advanced technology created a renaissance across member worlds. The Silurians, with their expertise in biological sciences, worked with human genetic engineers to develop new medical treatments. The Proxima mathematicians collaborated with Earth's quantum physicists to refine the Helios drive, making it more efficient and accessible to smaller vessels. On Earth itself, the integration of alien technologies transformed society. Cities incorporated Talaxian architectural principles that harmonized with natural environments. Transportation networks adopted vegan gravity control systems that eliminated pollution and congestion. Education systems implemented Mercurian knowledge transfer protocols that accelerated learning in all fields. Ambassador Miller, now serving as Earth's representative to the Federation Council, found himself busier than ever coordinating these exchanges. In his office in the Federation Tower on Tau Ceti E, he met with Dr. Elizabeth Chen, Earth's leading xenobiologist and recently appointed Director of Interspecies Medical Cooperation. The medical exchange program is exceeding all expectations. John, she reported, 17 previously incurable human diseases now have effective treatments, thanks to Silurian biochemistry. In return, our surgical techniques have revolutionized their approach to trauma care. Miller nodded in satisfaction. This is exactly what we hoped for. Genuine cooperation benefiting all parties. How are the preparations for the Andromedan encounter progressing? Dr. Chen's expression grew serious. The combined research teams have developed protocols for potential biological threats. If the Andromedans use biological weapons, or if their normal biology is toxic to us, Miller interjected. Precisely. We'll be prepared either way. The vegan atmospheric purification systems have been adapted for shipboard use, and our vaccine production facilities can now generate customized immunological responses within hours instead of weeks. As they spoke, the Defiance and its reconnaissance fleet had reached the halfway point to Andromeda. Captain Bennett stood on the bridge, studying the long-range sensor readings with growing concern. Magnify Sector 7, she ordered, pointing to an anomaly on the display. The screen shifted, revealing a startling sight. A small group of vessels traveling ahead of the main Andromedan fleet, moving at significantly higher velocity. An advance force, Commander Carter observed. Scout ships? No, Bennett replied, her voice tight. Those are too heavily armed for scouts. They're an invasion vanguard, testing our defenses before the main fleet arrives. She turned to her communications officer. Send a priority message to Federation Command. The Andromedans have accelerated their timetable. We have less time than we thought. The discovery sent shockwaves through the Federation. Emergency sessions were convened. Defense plans accelerated. Production facilities converted to military applications. What had been projected as a 15-year preparation window suddenly contracted to less than 5 years. In the Federation Command Center, Miller watched General Cooper brief the assembled representatives. The Vanguard force consists of approximately 200 vessels of varying classes. Based on their current trajectory and velocity, they will reach Federation space in 4 years, 7 months. The main fleet follows approximately 6 years behind them. A Talaxian representative raised a delicate hand. Could this be an opportunity? If we defeat this Vanguard decisively, perhaps the main fleet will reconsider their invasion plans. Or accelerate them, countered a Mercurian general. We must prepare for both possibilities. Cooper nodded. Agreed. Our strategy must be multifaceted. Captain Bennett's reconnaissance fleet will continue to gather intelligence on the main Andromedan force, while we prepare to meet the Vanguard. As the meeting concluded, Miller approached Cooper privately. Steve, what aren't you telling the Council? Cooper glanced around to ensure they weren't overheard. Our deep space monitoring stations detected unusual activity in the remnants of the Draconian Empire. They're gathering forces, but not in defensive positions. Lisa believes they're planning to contact the Andromedan Vanguard. Miller's expression darkened. They wouldn't dare. Wouldn't they? Vex lost everything when we exposed him. He's desperate enough to ally with invaders, if it gives him a chance at revenge. We need proof before we bring this to the Council. Too many worlds still have cultural ties to Draco's Prime. Accusations without evidence could fracture the alliance. Cooper nodded grimly. I've already dispatched a stealth reconnaissance team. Lieutenant White's group specializes in this kind of operation. On the far side of the galaxy, Lieutenant Ben White and his team approached the Draconian staging area in a vessel that bore no markings or identification. The ship's Helios drive had been modified to leave no detectable signature, allowing them to slip past the scattered Draconian patrols. Passive sensors only, White instructed as they entered the system. They've upgraded their detection grid since our last visit. The team's surveillance specialist, Sergeant Russell, monitored the incoming data. I'm detecting approximately 70 vessels gathered around the moon of the fourth planet. Military configurations. Heavily armed. Not nearly enough to challenge the Federation directly, White observed. What are they planning? Wait, Russell interrupted, her voice tense. I'm picking up a transmission. It's not in any known language in our database. White moved to her station, studying the waveform on her display. Record everything. We need to get this back to Federation linguistics experts immediately. As they prepared to withdraw, a Draconian patrol vessel altered course, moving in their direction. They've detected us, the pilot warned. Impossible, White replied. Our stealth systems. It's not our ship they've detected, Russell interjected, her eyes wide. It's the transmission. They're tracing the signal interception. Emergency jump, White ordered. Now. The ship vanished seconds before the Draconian patrol reached their position, reappearing at the predetermined emergency coordinates halfway across the sector. Damage report, White demanded. No physical damage, the pilot replied. But the emergency jump stressed the modified Helios system. We can't make another jump for at least 24 hours. White's expression was grim. Then, we proceed at maximum sublight toward the nearest Federation outpost. And pray, we're not followed. Back on Tau Ceti A, Miller received the transmission from White's team. The linguistics division worked around the clock to decipher the unknown language, finally achieving a breakthrough after 3 days of continuous effort. It's definitely Andromedan, the chief linguist reported. And based on the content, the Draconians have established contact with the Vanguard fleet. They're offering safe passage through their former territories and tactical information about Federation defenses in exchange for guaranteed autonomy when the Andromedans take control. Miller's face hardened. Prepare a complete report for the Council. Include all supporting evidence. We need to move quickly. The emergency session of the Federation Council began with Miller presenting the evidence of Draconian treachery. The reaction was immediate and vehement. This cannot stand, thundered the Proximan representative. The Draconians would betray the entire galaxy to preserve their own power. We should launch a preemptive strike against their staging area, suggested the Silurian military advisor. Eliminate the threat before they can guide the Andromedans through our defenses. Miller raised his hands for calm. A direct military response plays into their hands. The Draconians would portray us as aggressors, potentially swaying neutral worlds to their cause. Instead, I propose a more subtle approach. His proposal was daring. A small, elite force would infiltrate the Draconian staging area and plant evidence suggesting that the Draconians planned to betray the Andromedans once they had served their purpose. The operation would require perfect execution and absolute secrecy. Who would undertake such a mission? Asked the Talaxian representative. Miller exchanged glances with General Cooper. I have someone in mind, he replied. Captain Bennett received the encrypted transmission aboard the Defiance, still deep in interstellar space, monitoring the Andromedan main fleet. You want us to do what? She asked incredulously after reading the orders. Miller's face on the viewscreen was resolute. Your ship has the most advanced stealth capabilities in the fleet, Olivia, and your crew has experience with Draconian systems from your previous encounter. Infiltrating their staging area, planting false intelligence, and escaping undetected, all while the Defiance continues its reconnaissance mission as a decoy? Bennett shook her head. It's audacious. I'll give you that. The fate of the Federation may depend on it. If the Andromedans follow the Draconian guidance, they'll bypass our primary defensive positions. We'll lose any advantage our preparations might have given us. Bennett considered for a moment, then nodded decisively. We'll need a volunteer team, specialized equipment, and a perfect insertion plan. All being prepared as we speak. Lieutenant White will rendezvous with you at these coordinates, with everything you need. As Bennett assembled her volunteer team, including Commander Carter and Weapons Officer Susan Wright, preparations for the mission proceeded at an accelerated pace. Federation intelligence created meticulously crafted false documents detailing a draconian plan to seize Andromedan technology once the invasion was complete, along with star charts showing vulnerable points in the Andromedan formation that didn't actually exist. The rendezvous with White's ship occurred in the shadow of a rogue planet drifting through interstellar space. As the specialized equipment and intelligence packages were transferred to the Defiance, Bennett briefed her team on the mission parameters. This operation requires absolute precision, she emphasized. We'll have one chance to plant the false intelligence in their central database. If we're discovered, not only will the mission fail, but the Draconians will know we're aware of their plans. Commander Carter studied the schematics of the Draconian Command Center. Their security is formidable, but not impenetrable. If we can access this maintenance conduit, we can reach the central data core without passing through the main security checkpoints. And I have something that might help, White added, presenting a small device. Reverse engineered from Draconian security systems, it generates false credentials that their systems should accept, at least temporarily. The infiltration team, consisting of Bennett, Carter, Wright, White, and Russell, would take a modified shuttle equipped with enhanced stealth systems, while the Defiance continued its reconnaissance mission as a diversion. If everything went according to plan, the Andromedans would receive the planted intelligence through their Draconian contacts and adjust their strategy accordingly. As the shuttle separated from the Defiance, Bennett felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Remember, she told her team, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. Every world in the Federation is counting on us, whether they know it or not. The approach to the Draconian staging area was tense. The shuttle's stealth systems pushed to their limits to avoid detection. Russell monitored the sensor readings continuously, alert for any sign they had been discovered. Patrols are following standard patterns, she reported. No indication they're aware of our presence. Approaching insertion point, Carter announced, maneuvering the shuttle toward a maintenance airlock on the outer ring of the Draconian command station. Docking in 3, 2, 1. Contact. Establishing pressure seal. White activated the security bypass device. We have approximately 15 minutes before their systems cycle and potentially detect the anomaly. The team moved with practiced efficiency, making their way through maintenance tunnels designed for the smaller drone workers of the Draconian service caste. The cramped quarters made their progress slow, but they remained undetected as they approached the central data core. Security checkpoint ahead, Russell whispered, consulting her scanner. 2 guards. Standard rotation. Bennett nodded to Wright, who prepared a neural disruptor, a non-lethal weapon designed to temporarily incapacitate Draconian nervous systems without triggering alarms. As the guards passed their position, Wright fired 2 precise bursts. The Draconians collapsed silently, breathing but unconscious. They'll be out for 20 minutes, Wright confirmed. We need to be gone in 15. The central data core hummed with energy, countless data streams flowing through crystalline matrices that stored the collective intelligence of the Draconian military. White connected their infiltration device to an access port, beginning the careful process of inserting the false intelligence without triggering security protocols. This is taking longer than expected, he muttered. fingers flying over the interface. Their encryption is more sophisticated than our intelligence suggested. "How much longer?" Bennett asked, keeping one eye on the corridor. 3 minutes, maybe 4. Russell suddenly stiffened. Movement in the main corridor. A patrol, ahead of schedule. Bennett made a quick decision. Carter, right. Create a diversion. Nothing obvious. A system malfunction in a different section. Russell, help White. I'll watch our exit. Carter and Wright moved quickly, accessing an environmental control panel and triggering a minor cooling system failure 3 sections away. The approaching patrol diverted to investigate, buying the team precious minutes. "Done," White announced finally. "The false intelligence is planted, with a degrading encryption that will make it appear they attempted to secure it from Andromedan access. When the Draconians transmit their next data package, this will go with it." "Now we leave," Bennett ordered. "Same route, maximum stealth." The team retraced their steps, moving past the still unconscious guards and back through the maintenance tunnels. They reached the shuttle without incident, detaching from the station and slipping away under full stealth. "Mission accomplished," Bennett reported once they were safely away from the Draconian staging area. Returning to rendezvous coordinates. When they rejoined the Defiance, Bennett immediately ordered a Helios jump to remove them from the region before any potential discovery of their infiltration. As the ship re-emerged in safer space, she allowed herself a moment of cautious optimism. "Now we wait," she told her officers, "and hope the Andromedans take the bait." 3 weeks later, the Defiance's long-range sensors detected a significant change in the Andromedan Vanguard's formation. The fleet had altered course, bypassing the route suggested by the Draconians and instead adopting a more cautious approach that would take them through a region of space where Federation forces were secretly massing. "It worked," Carter observed, studying the tactical display. "They suspect a trap." Bennett nodded. "And they'll find one waiting for them. Just not the one they're expecting." The Federation's combined fleet, consisting of vessels from 37 member worlds, waited in strategic positions throughout the region. Earth's contribution included 20 Helios-class battleships, including the newly commissioned EDS Prometheus, commanded by Admiral Lisa Howard herself. The trap was set, the bait taken. When the Andromedan Vanguard entered the region, they proceeded with extreme caution, weapons powered and shields at maximum. What they didn't realize was that the Federation forces had deployed a new technology, quantum phase disruptors that could temporarily shift a target vessel out of normal spacetime, rendering it effectively neutralized without destruction. The battle, when it came, was swift and decisive. The Federation fleet emerged from hiding, surrounding the Andromedan Vanguard before they could react. The phase disruptors activated simultaneously, targeting the command ships first. Within minutes, half the Andromedan fleet hung motionless in space, caught between dimensions. "Transmit the message," Admiral Howard ordered from the bridge of the Prometheus. "All frequencies, all languages we've decoded." The message was simple, but powerful. "The galaxy you seek to conquer stands united against you. We have neutralized your vanguard without destruction as a demonstration of both our power and our restraint. We know of the catastrophe that drives your people from your home galaxy. We offer an alternative to conflict, cooperation, and shared resources on uninhabited worlds within our territory. Return to your main fleet with this offer. You have witnessed our capabilities. Consider your response carefully." The remaining Andromedan vessels, recognizing their tactical disadvantage, withdrew to a safe distance. After a tense standoff lasting several hours, they transmitted a response. "Your demonstration is acknowledged. Your offer will be conveyed to the High Command. Release our ships as evidence of your sincerity." Howard consulted briefly with the Federation Council before responding. "We will release half your vessels now, half when your main fleet has halted its advance and opened formal negotiations." The Andromedans accepted these terms, As the phase disruptors deactivated and the first group of ships returned to normal space, Federation observers noted how quickly the aliens adapted their shield frequencies to prevent the same tactic from working twice. They were formidable adversaries and potentially valuable allies, if negotiations succeeded. As the Andromedan vessels departed to rejoin their main fleet, Miller and Howard discussed the implications on the bridge of the Prometheus. "Do you think they'll actually negotiate?" Howard asked. Miller considered carefully. "They're pragmatic. They've seen we possess technology they hadn't anticipated. Their original plan assumed a divided galaxy they could conquer piecemeal, not a unified federation with shared defensive capabilities. Yes, I believe they'll negotiate, if only to buy time and learn more about us." "And the Draconians?" Miller's expression hardened. "That's our next challenge. When the Andromedans discover the deception, they'll turn on their would-be allies. The Draconian remnant will be caught between the Federation and the Andromedans, with nowhere to turn." "Perhaps that's justice," Howard suggested. "Perhaps. But we need to be better than that. I'm preparing a proposal for the Council, offering the Draconians conditional readmission to the galactic community, under strict oversight and with significant reparations." Howard raised an eyebrow. "That's remarkably generous, considering their betrayal." "Not generous," Miller corrected. "Practical. Draconian technology and knowledge could be valuable against future threats, and demonstrating mercy to former enemies sends a powerful message to the Andromedans about what kind of alliance we represent." In the months that followed, Miller's prediction proved accurate. The Andromedan main fleet halted its advance, and a delegation arrived to begin formal negotiations. The talks were complex and often tense, but progress was made. The Federation offered settlement rights on a dozen uninhabited worlds in exchange for technological exchange and a non-aggression pact. Meanwhile, the Draconian remnant, abandoned by their Andromedan contacts and facing extinction between two superior forces, reluctantly accepted the Federation's terms. Archduke Vex was removed from power and tried for crimes against the galactic community, while reformist elements within Draconian society began the long process of reintegration. 5 years after the Senate's vote against Earth, the vote that had been their last mistake, the galaxy had transformed. The Federation of Free Worlds now encompassed over 300 member planets, with even former adversaries like the Draconians taking the first steps toward membership. The Andromedan settlers established colonies on their assigned worlds, beginning cultural exchanges that would eventually lead to full diplomatic relations. On Earth, citizens looked to the stars with new understanding. Humanity had emerged from isolation to become a cornerstone of interstellar cooperation. Schools taught the languages of a dozen alien species. Hospitals combined medical techniques from across the galaxy, and research centers collaborated on technologies that would have seemed magical just decades earlier. Captain Bennett, promoted to Admiral and given command of the Federation's Rapid Response Fleet, stood with Miller on the observation deck of the newly constructed Federation headquarters in Earth orbit. Below them, the blue-green planet turned serenely, while around them, ships from countless worlds moved in orderly patterns. 100 years of patience, Bennett remarked, echoing their conversation after the Senate confrontation. And now, centuries of potential ahead of us. Miller nodded, his expression thoughtful. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if the Senate hadn't voted against us, if we had continued our charade of technological inferiority. Would we have been ready when the Andromedans arrived? Would the galaxy have united in time? Sometimes it takes a crisis to create opportunity, Bennett replied. Their mistake became our opening to build something better. And the work continues, Miller added. The Andromedans speak of other threats beyond the galactic rim, civilizations far older and more advanced than any we've encountered. Our alliance may face greater challenges in the centuries to come. Bennett smiled confidently. Then we'll face them together, as we've faced everything else, with patience, preparation, and the understanding that diversity brings strength. As night fell over Earth, its people slept peacefully, protected by an alliance born from adversity and strengthened by common purpose. The Senate's vote against Earth had indeed been their last mistake, not because it had led to their destruction, but because it had catalyzed their transformation into something far greater than they had ever been before. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity stood at the heart of that change, ready for whatever challenges the universe might bring.